Let's talk about a dinosaur that makes absolutely no sense. The Stegosaurus. I mean, by all accounts, this thing should have been an evolutionary failure. Yet, it was around for millions of years. So how in the world did it pull that off? Okay, first, just to get a sense of what we're dealing with, picture a tank. A living tank, the size of a school bus. That's the Stegosaurus. We're talking up to 30 feet long, weighing over 4.5 tons. A walking fortress. But here's the kicker. All of that size, all of that power, was being run by a brain the size of a walnut. Maybe even a grape. I mean, think about that. It's like trying to fly a fighter jet with a calculator from the 80s. It just doesn't compute. And this is where it gets really weird. Despite this massive disadvantage, this animal didn't just scrape by. Oh no, it dominated. For millions and millions of years, it was a cornerstone of its entire ecosystem, outlasting all sorts of supposedly smarter and faster dinosaurs.
So that's the big question, right? How does a walking tank with the brain of a grape become such a massive evolutionary success story? Well, let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get this, you have to understand just how bizarrely this animal was built. It's the kind of creature that makes you scratch your head and wonder what exactly evolution was thinking. Just look at this comparison. It's almost funny. You've got a body weighing over 4.5 tons, that's heavier than some trucks, and a brain that clocks in at around 80 grams. The ratio is it's insane. This whole thing was so confusing to the first paleontologists who found it that they came up with one of the craziest ideas in all of science. They actually thought it had a second brain in its butt. Seriously, they figured it needed a backup just to control its tail. Now we know that's not true. It was just a big bundle of nerves. But it just goes to show you how much of a puzzle this animal really was. All right, so the tiny brain is a huge issue. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about another one of its supposed weaknesses, something that should have put it on the menu for every single predator around. Check this out. 5 miles per hour. That's it. That's its top speed. You watching this, could probably power walk faster than this thing could run. It wasn't getting away from, well, anything. And that's the thing, right? It's built like an absolute tank, but it moves like a shopping cart with one of those janky wheels that just spins in circles. It should have been the easiest meal in the Jurassic. Or so you'd think. Aha, but this is where the whole story flips on its head. See, the Stegosaurus made up for its weaknesses with a defense system that was just absolutely brutal. It's one of nature's true masterpieces of destruction. Let me introduce you to the Thagomizer. Yeah, that's its real scientific name. Those 4 giant spikes on its tail, they weren't for show. This was a deadly weapon. And you want to know the best part? The name literally comes from a Far Side comic strip. A scientist just thought it was funny and it stuck. You gotta love that. And we know for a fact it used this thing. We have the receipts. Seriously, paleontologists found an Allosaurus fossil with a hole in its bone that is a perfect match for a Stegosaurus spike. It's like finding a bullet in a victim. But even crazier, they found Stegosaurus spikes that were broken and then healed. Think about that. These things were in fights so brutal they were snapping their spikes off inside a predator and then just walking away to heal up and do it again. Okay, but what about an attack from the front? Smart predators always go for the throat, right? It's a huge weak spot. Well, this Stegosaurus had an answer for that too. It had built-in throat armor, little bits of bone embedded in its skin right over its neck, protecting all the important stuff. It's basically a prehistoric Kevlar vest, and its defenses weren't just on the outside. Its whole eating process was way ahead of its time. See, most herbivores back then just kind of ripped and swallowed. But the Stegosaurus, it had a whole system. It had a beak for cutting plants, cheeks to keep the food from falling out, and teeth in the back for grinding. And get this, the craziest part? It would swallow rocks on purpose. These rocks, called gastroliths, would just tumble around in its stomach, pulverizing everything it ate. It had its own internal cement mixer. So let's recap. We've got this slow, supposedly dumb animal that's also an armored killing machine with a super advanced stomach. It's time to put all the pieces of this puzzle together and see what the real story is. And you know what? Even today, there are things about this creature we just don't get. Those giant plates on its back, the thing it's most famous for, we still don't really know what they were for. Seriously, were they giant radiators to control its temperature? Were they there to attract a mate? Or to scare off predators? Maybe they were just to help them recognize each other. We have theories, but no one knows for sure. It just makes the whole thing even cooler. So this is it. This is the paradox, all laid out. On one hand, you have these massive weaknesses, the tiny brain, the laughably slow speed. But on the other hand, you've got these incredible, god-tier strengths, that killer tail, the neck armor, the super stomach. It turns out its strengths were so powerful, they didn't just make up for the weaknesses, they made them totally irrelevant. So what's the final word on the Stegosaurus? What's the brutal truth? It teaches us something really important about evolution. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the fastest. Sometimes you just have to be the one that is impossible to kill. And that's what the Stegosaurus was. It wasn't dumb. It was simply indestructible.